Laura. What is it you want to play?
What's that? It's called 2011 Board Report. I know. As we had an executive session prior to this meeting, I would like to recall to order the City of Lake Forest School District Number 67 Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, December 13th. May I have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Anderson,
Present.
Mrs. Fisher,
Present.
Mr. Julian,
Here.
Mr. Pendersky,
Here.
Mrs. Rose,
Present.
Mr. Schuler,
Here.
Mrs. Wald,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. I'd like to begin with the President's report, and I would like to update our community on the superintendent search, which really got underway in its full capacity last week. We did interview 6 fabulous candidates over 2 evenings of a lot of hard work by the 2 boards, and then on Saturday we met for a very long time and really went into depth on most of the candidates. Because of the strength of the candidates that we interviewed, we have decided to go ahead and continue with 4 of the potential superintendents. And we will, so that has made us all have an extremely busy week, the week of January 9th, because we will have, be spending, those candidates will be coming to our school district and spending a very full day from noon until about 8 p.m., meeting with administration, meeting with parents and teachers, and of course, and some community members, and of course, the boards again. And the boards will then meet that Saturday and deliberate. And I want to thank all of my fellow board members, as well as those on the 115 board, for really providing such wonderful insight, such displays of common sense, of the ability to cooperate and work as a team to really make sure that this process is going to be a success. So thank you, board members. I know we have a lot more time that will be invested in the future as we are just in the midst of this process. Would any board member like to add anything?
I would like to thank you, Julia, and our 115 board president, Sharon Golan, for helping us with this process, providing the background information, and really taking so much of your time during this busy holiday season. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Griffith?
All right, Madam President, members of the board, and members of the audience, thank you for being here tonight. Wave if you're like a parent in our school district, because I'm seeing a lot of parents out there. Yeah, very good. So thank you for coming tonight. Just 3 things real quickly, board members. One is I'd like a shout out thank you to our nurses in all of our schools for the excellent 100% immunization physical examination compliance report that once again has occurred annually. This happens every year, but it is a lot of hard work and support and cooperation among our families too. So good job to our nurses. Secondly, I'd like to announce to the community that we just had a new evaluation conducted by Moody's Investor Service, and we just received 2 weeks ago this letter. Dear Mr. Albus, who is our Deputy Superintendent for Finance, we wish to inform you that on November 22nd, 2011, Moody's Investor Service has reviewed and assigned the rating of AAA to District 67. So very, very healthy financial terms in the district. That's based on the financial health of the district, rather. And so good job to the Finance Committee, to our district as a whole. And then finally, board members, I'd like to remind you that on February 6, 2012, EdRed is having their annual dinner. It is organization made up of suburbs around the Chicagoland area. And the featured speaker this year is Charlotte Danielson. Charlotte is one of the foremost authorities on teacher evaluation. She'll be giving a keynote presentation on what goes into quality teacher evaluations. It's under review by the state of Illinois, and I think you'd find it very interesting. So please let Pam know if you're interested. We can carpool down to the event if you can make that. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Griffith. That brings us to public participation. Is there a member of the audience that would like to address the board on any topic? Seeing none, we will move to our reports and the 2020 vision update. Dr. Griffith?
Board members, tonight we have a very special presentation. This is a major initiative of the Board of Education. And so Dr. Andy Henriksen is leading this for our district. It's involving many, many teachers, students, and staff. And we thought you'd like to hear an update sort of here in the middle of the year, the progress we've been making. We've got some excellent teachers here tonight, board members also to participate. So Andy, congratulations, and thank you for arranging this.
Well, this is the most exciting thing I'll present probably all year, because we've had such success and enthusiasm about this change in our schools. 21st Century Learning transformed itself into our 2020 vision, which you've looked at, identifying the themes, the tenets of what we want our students to be able to do and achieve by the time the year 2020 comes around. So it's that look in the future, but we've already made great strides in the last year and a half since we began this. And I thought, what better presentation to have some of the people that have been in the trenches creating it. And so tonight we're going to have 3 pieces to the presentation. Bridget Booker is here. Bridget's an assistant principal as well as a technology coach in 2 of the elementaries. Bridget is one of those 21st century learner leaders. And one of the things that she did to lead this change, this transformation of how we facilitate learning instead of stand up and deliver teaching, is that she wrote an iPad Spirit Grant last year. And so this year now, in the fall, we have iPads in grades K1 and 2. And so I thought this is a wonderful way for Bridget to show how this technology tool has changed the way teachers are starting to look at teaching and the experiences that their students have had. So, Bridget?
Thank you. I'm excited to share with you the beginning stages of the use of iPads in the classrooms, utilizing our current Spirit Grant allocation for students in grades kindergarten through 2nd grade. iPad apps offer an engaging tool for teachers to assign differentiated activities for student skill reinforcement. However, the power and the beauty of the iPads are enhanced our goal of 21st century learning through providing opportunities for collaboration, problem solving, critical thinking, and communication through partnerships with both classes near and far. Enjoy this brief journey into our kindergarten through 2nd grade classrooms. Amplification. There's always a little technical glitch, and we all have to be prepared for those. Basically, what's happening at this point is students in kindergarten are exploring apps. Apps that are actually guiding.
So I have to go. You don't win, you don't go to the next level, but when you do win, you go to the next level. It gets harder and you get smarter.
Having the iPads in the classroom really helps with differentiation of student skills and needs. In 1st grade, students work in pairs and small groups to strengthen math skills. Here they are articulating the steps they need to problem solve effectively.
Say hello to the kids of Maryland. What's the weather like there today?
The boys and girls this class need Illinois.
Here's our school, and this is kind of like the front.
And it's kind of digital.
Oh,
Yeah.
Living in Illinois because you can go to Lake Michigan. And this is a picture of Lake Michigan. I like living in Maryland because it is close to the ocean.
And it's interesting how we say 3 hours is close to the beach after hearing you say minutes away. Wow, you guys have a lot of sports teams.
I like living in Illinois because you can go to the American Girl store. Here's a picture of the American Girl doll store.
Have you guys ever heard of American Girl doll?
What is your football team there?
Ooh, the Chicago Bears.
Yes, talk about us.
You know our football team here.
Do you know their football team in Maryland?
No. The Baltimore Ravens.
Maybe a project that we can do in January.
Sounds good. We look forward to seeing you guys again. Say goodbye.
Bye.
The iPads also allow for students to work cooperatively with their peers and work together to problem solve. The iPads allow for me to differentiate and meet the needs of all students. With this app, I was able to change the range of addition facts to appropriately meet the child's ability level.
During that centers, I like to do points and bills, and there's a lot of things we do. There's counting money, show me the money, making change, answering amounts, and zero value.
iPads are useful tools for reinforcing and enhancing our second grade curriculum. The math apps give students the opportunity to engage in math games at their level with immediate feedback on their progress. As a result, students spend more time practicing a wide range of math skills while having fun.
It helps us learn math because each player gets 2 cards from the deck. And then we type in our answer. Yeah. I type 9. Okay. Now it's your turn. Try your answers right. And if you get like, it's like an accident. It will affect your scores. I'm doing FaceTimes with a class at charity. I am Apple. I have no parallel sides. I have 0 angles. I have no side. No side. I am curved. What am I? Circle? Close. Oval. Yeah. I'm going to read you guys a story. I'm going to start from the part that I edited called Mrs. Taco, and she gets... Will you read it one more time for us? There was a boy named Tom. He knew everything in the universe. And his teacher, Mr. Pruett, but he couldn't. What would he do? Luckily, Tom's friends were there and told Mr. Pruett. Then you describe to the characters
you think we could do that?
Yeah, if they have iPads. I think it's better to do it with other people because if you do it with people that are just in the same classroom, it's sort of like talking to people who you already know. And maybe if you talk to a different class, then you might get something new, like learn something new.
Thank you.
We really could have had almost any teacher do this presentation because all the teachers have been involved. But we chose just a few to keep the time down. Colleen Brueggemann, one of our leaders in the district, educational leaders, has been looking at IB, International Baccalaureate Programs, and how that relates to 21st century learning. And there's a nice tie. Colleen's going to come up and share some of the things that she's been learning and something that her Explore group of teachers, fourth grade teachers, have created for the district.
Hello, it's such a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you so much. I want to share just a couple things with you. Imagine a world where we could actually teach students how to focus on the quality of their learning as they also engage with the topic. Imagine where students just come alive and being in charge of their own learning, and they share the different key learning parts with each other. And imagine where students get to figure out how they connect locally to their community and then to the world community. And then where students use the latest technology as a tool just to focus on what they want to learn. Now, imagine a world where students learn about a topic in a very authentic way, and where students learn about a topic using social studies, math, language arts, all of these things interrelated and interwoven. This is the heart of interdisciplinary work. And where the quality of that learning, how students learn, is the framework for how they will learn in the future. And where they have choices about what direction they want their personal learning to take. These are the outcomes of the Water Project and the Water Crisis Unit. Currently, the Water Unit is taught in all of our elementary buildings for all grades in Enrichment and Explore. Moving forward, younger grades will have key learning opportunities to build up to this larger unit in grades 3 and 4. This unit is so learner-centered, so no one classroom ends up looking the same. All classrooms look different. Why water? This is sort of the backdrop. We thought about a topic to explore, and we looked at current global issues that are out there. Water and the water crisis quickly rose to the top of that list. Think about it. Water is so essential to our lives, and currently, over 1 billion people lack adequate water. That is staggering to all of us. And then think about that this crisis has taken more lives than all of our wars combined. And if you sit with that, and you just think about that, and think about the impact, quickly we learn how we can interrelate that to our own personal lives. But probably one of the biggest factors is that the group that's affected mostly are children. About every 20 seconds, a child ends up dying because of this. So this has become an area of passion for all of us. And currently, as a teaching group, we are sharing all of our key findings together. Explore and enrichment teachers are working with ILIs and other teachers in the building. And students, as we said, it's student directed. So from them, they're sharing their passion areas within this overall unit. So the unit is alive, it's constantly changing. Now, How do we design our units? What makes best sense and what's best practice? Looking at 3 different things that are out there: International Baccalaureate, 21st Century Skills, and National Board. National Board is a leader in what makes great instruction, what makes great teaching, and the curricular aspect of it. 21st Century Skills leads in the area of financial, economic, and health. And then taking IB and what IB has to offer, that's the humanitarian piece, and how to create those integrated lessons that are engaging and life-changing. So we take the best of the best when we're designing our units. We're taking the best of practices as we move forward with students. Wouldn't it be great, looking at this, think about a unit and lessons throughout that have all these key factors in them all the time. And if you just kind of sit with that kids have that self-directing learning, they're learning out, they're working out their communication, the learning is authentic, they're continuing to learn about global issues, and they're connecting all these pieces regularly. Students have learned to take their own leadership roles, and it's so sweet. One teacher even shared, "I'm starting to get nightly emails from kids sharing the research that they're finding and then a new idea that's come to them." Okay, what are some of the ideas and some of the things that are out there? Here are some examples of some student-centered work that has come out of the unit. Some students are reviewing different ways to solve the crisis, such as new filter technology, age-old wells, and even microfinance loans. I know I didn't learn about microfinance loans when I was in 3rd grade, so it's really great to hear that those conversations are taking place. Students are also learning about the United Nations and the role of the United Nations, and also the role of government. We know we have the age-old question, how much should government regulate or not? And so that's being brought up in our schools. So it's lively conversation time. Then there's also problem-based learning, which is a way for students to engage in a particular problem. Like, for example, and it might have multiple outcomes, your neighbor went on vacation for several weeks. Her water bill ended up skyrocketing the following month. Through investigation, it was found that her water softener was broken. So, debate the pros and cons of a water softener. Others have become little activists. It's really cute. It's fun to see. For example, we had a group that just felt on fire, got their Boy Scout group together and said, we need to go visit the Lake Forest mayor. And we're going to go by and we're going to visit him and we're going to tell him about this problem. We're going to tell him about all of our learning, and we're also going to ask him for his help. So that was done. Then another classroom decided, hey, wait a minute, we can talk with all the lunch support staff. And we can talk about ways that we can look at lessening our water usage within our schools. So let's work with that. And another school said that they wanted to do morning announcements with a little tip having to do with water each day. So we've also partnered with Lake Forest High School, the Environmental Club, which is so great because they came into our classrooms, they talked about their passion areas, and they also asked us all about our learning. Now, imagine kids from the high school. Do you know when they came? They came on their day off to our schools. So that just kind of shows you their passion area and how excited they were to partner with us. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take this idea and realize just how powerful this is. Take water completely even out of it. Now, what students are doing is they're learning about their environment. They're learning about their world, they're learning about their community, and then they're taking that learning and they're taking their knowledge and it might go in a variety of different directions. They're gaining self-confidence because they're the ones in charge of that learning. They're taking that self-confidence and they're learning how to change their world. As one group wants to put in low faucets, low water flow faucets, and another group wants to talk to, the lunch group, and then another one wants to talk to the mayor. So taking that and learning how they can be a part of changing their own world. And then they get to look and explore new topics. Okay, aside from water, what are other things that they're interested? What are other ways that they can affect great change in their world? And so this becomes a new cycle for how they want to learn. From this unit, it's clear to see that students have become better observers of the world. They've learned how to take that learning and they transfer it into their everyday. Now, I can't be more pleased than to introduce 3 amazing people. Miss Lucas is our Everett Explorer teacher, and she has been spearheading this. And I can't even tell you the amount of emails and information and support and meetings we have had regarding this unit and her passion, and it shows very clearly. Also, Brooke McDougall and Bridget Mitchell, who are our 2 great Everett students. They are phenomenal, and they're going to share some of their exciting learning with you.
Did you know scientists predict that by 2025, 2/3 of the world's population will be without reliable drinking water? Currently, Americans consume most of the world's water, and this is a huge problem. When my class learned this, we knew we had to take action. Hi, my name is Brooke McDougall, and this is Bridget Mitchell, and we are from Miss Lucas's Explore class at Everett Elementary. We are here to represent our class and tell you about all the exciting things we're doing for our water project. We started out the year by reading books and articles related to water. This gave us the background knowledge to begin the project. We actually really didn't know where we were going with this or what we were going to do, but we knew all along that we wanted to make a difference. First, we used an app on iPads to find a personalized water footprint. This app allowed each of us to find our individual water consumption. We compared our consumptions to other countries across the world. When I completed the app, it said my family and I consume about 55,000 gallons of water per year, about the same as an average American. As you can see in the top of the picture, our consumption is much higher than other countries. At the bottom, the app also included a feature to list some suggestions on ways you can cut back your water usage. One suggestion was to shorten your shower. If you shorten your shower time to about 5 minutes, you could save about 5,000 gallons of water in a year. Now some students listen to music while showering and try to do it in one song. Actually, last night when I took a shower, I practiced my speech and tried to finish my shower by the time my speech was done. We have had tons of fun coming up with ways to lessen our water consumption. We've also invited some guest speakers to come in. Courtney asked her mom, who's a doctor, to come in and tell us all about the importance of water in our health. Evan's mother came in to share her knowledge about water in third world countries. Many of us became interested to learn more about how people live with such very little water. So we asked our principal, Dr. Warmer, to come in and share her experience from her trip to Nicaragua through the program Outreach 360. The citizens of Nicaragua depend on the water from Lake Managua, but it's highly polluted. Her experience made a large impact on us. Afterwards, some students gathered together to contact the man in charge of Outreach 360 to figure out ways we can help. One suggestion on a way we could help was to give donations to buy supplies to build water filters, just like the one you see here. Other students have gathered together and are experimenting with their own ideas to figure out how to build water filters in their own way. Robbie was interested in how we get our water and why we are so lucky to have fresh, clean water every day. Therefore, he took the time to contact the people at the Lake Forest Water Plant and ask them to come in and tell us all about the water treatment process. After this presentation, some students contacted Mrs. Quaid at the district office to learn more about how much the schools in our district spend on water. She sent us the water bills from the past 4 years, and we compared the cost. 4 students wanted to take the skills we learned in math to graph the bills and find the averages. We also found it fascinating to calculate late charges. I can't believe how high the interest rate for paying late is. In order to lower our bills, we've been investigating how much money we would save if our schools had low-flow faucets. Maybe we can even write a grant. We knew it was important to learn background information, but we didn't want to stop there. We knew we had to take action. We started this project by coming up with ideas, and we plan to finish this project as better citizens. It is fun because it's our ideas, and not just our teacher telling us what we have to study. Currently, we have about 15 projects going on. Every student is allowed to follow his or her passion. Because of this project, our motto this year has become, "There are a number of ways to help, and they all start with you."
My goodness, girls, that was fantastic. I was a high school speech teacher. I taught high school debate. I would want you on my high school debate team. The two of you were just fantastic. Let's give them another round of applause. What a great job they did.
Well, and if I may, I'd also like them on the finance committee.
Thank you.
Because it sounds like they have some wonderful ideas to contribute.
Actually, we'll take them on all 3 board committees.
Okay, so we're working our way up from kindergarten through the middle school now, and with us tonight is our Amy Lamberti and Laura Montgomery, who are leading our 21st Century Learning Leadership at Deer Path Middle, and they have a wonderful and short presentation for you as well about the netbooks and how they're transforming learning there.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for having us back. I know that Mrs. Lamberti and I were only here a short while ago giving you kind of an overview of how the beginning of the year started. And we're here to share with you, we've brought 2 of our students who would like to answer some questions. But what we'd like to do first is we'd like to kick it off with kind of an overview using one of our favorite tools called Animoto. And it's one of the many web-based tools that we've been using, although it had to be a little bit revised about an hour ago, because when we transferred from the web version to a downloadable, it lost half of our music. So I kind of tried to remash it. So there's a few pieces in there where we try to capture some audio. So hopefully you'll be able to hear above that. So we'd like to share with you one-to-one netbooks, the 2020 vision at DPM.
So as you can see from that video, that was 5th and 6th graders that are obviously very engaged in their learning, and we today brought with us a 5th and 6th grader. We have Lindsay Foker from 5th grade and Thomas Knight from 6th grade, and thought maybe you guys would have some questions for them in regards to how their learning has changed in a 21st century classroom. So I'll turn it over to Thomas if anyone has questions for him.
Can I go ahead? Thank you all for being here tonight, and to the other 4th graders who presented too. It's wonderful hearing this from the children. Thank you for being here. I have a question. Do you find communication easier now with technology, and if so, how?
I find it easier because if I'm just on Gmail and I'm chatting with my dad, for example, I'll type in a note like hi, and then I'll press enter to submit the message, and it'll show up to him in half of a second.
Thank you very much.
My answer would be, well, we have this school website called Gaggle, which is like an email account, but it's a way for my teachers to communicate with me and for me to communicate back with them.
Thank you.
We hear how the netbooks possibly keep you more engaged with your schooling. Can you explain that from the student's perspective?
From my perspective, it's more engaging because there's so many 21st century tools out there that you can make a project on or just even make a quick report. And I've had Mrs. Lamberti as a teacher for 5th grade, and I remember just doing those for every project that we ever had.
I find the programs on the netbooks a lot easier to keep organized and help me on my presentations like OpenOffice.
May I ask you guys, with the netbook, how have you been able to be more creative with your learning? Can you give us some examples of some things you might have done?
Like the Explore Kids just did, they made a Prezi, and that you can be more creative because you get to explore. You can make your own path, and you can make it like twirl and all these different features. And also there's another one called Glogster, and you can make like a poster, but it's all online. And you can experiment with backgrounds and speech bubbles and pictures and videos and a lot more things.
Well, I find creativity easier because as Ms. Lamberti used Animoto for the video, I like to use my own creativity on it, and also Prezi and presentation on OpenOffice.
And also, John with Leslie, and thank you for coming and making the presentation. It was really excellent. Can you talk about some ways that you think you've become more self-directed in your learning because of technology?
I've become more self-directed because when you're making this project, you know that you can't just exit out of the program. You know that you have to save it, and you have to really say to yourself, like, this needs to be like this, and you can't let somebody else tell you that that's wrong because maybe they're thinking of the wrong thing, and you just have to be very self-directed with your projects and etc.
I have many of resources where I can do myself as up here, like Weebly, Linowit, Edmodo, and some others like Spelling City, Extra Math, OpenOffice, online textbooks, and all that.
I wanted to thank you also for coming and sharing your thoughts with us tonight. And I have a two-part question, if you can remember the parts. One is, how's your learning changed with the netbooks? And part two is, if you can remember back in time, could you tell us a little bit about how you deal with your assignments and your assignment notebook, or maybe you don't keep one anymore? Thank you.
I'll answer the second one first, and I will, on my desktop of my netbook, there's a sticky note, and it says math, and then my assignment, and then it'll still, like, if you shut your computer down, it'll still stay there. So when you open it up when you're at home, you'll be like, oh, I have a worksheet in math and I have to read in LA or something like that. And the first part, can you repeat it?
How has your learning changed using the netbooks?
Oh, it has changed completely because instead of the teacher saying like, oh, can somebody tell me what a fact on U.S. history is? And you can, if you have no idea of any facts in U.S. history, you can just go open a new tab and then look it up, and then you can raise your hand and answer the question too.
I'm going to answer the first part. I think my learning has changed a lot because I don't have to write things down and I might lose it in my docket or something. Now I have my sticky notes, and I have more organization in so I can learn and make sure I know what I'm saying. And my second one was back when I was in 4th grade, I would always have to write down the assignment. Now I have Edline and, as he said, the sticky notes that really help me.
Thank you.
I just want to say, Lindsay and Thomas, I think you've just done a wonderful job of talking about how technology helps you in school, and you're remarkably self-confident for being able to stand up there like you did, and share your passion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's our report. We could go on for hours, but we won't.
I would say, boys and girls, you're welcome to stay, but you might have some homework tonight, or so if you wanted to leave, this would be a good time too. Moms and dads, thank you for being here. That was really fantastic. Andy, thank you. One more time, let's thank everybody for being here tonight.
Okay. Ready? Any further questions, board members, or we're ready to move on?
No, not quite. I think, well, you know what? I think they're so composed because they're standing in the classrooms doing the same exact thing, and that's why it's not a big deal to do it here.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about, so I'll be quiet now.
Good observation. All right, let's move on to our board committee reports. First, we have the Board Education Committee with Leslie Fisher and Bill Anderson.
Thank you, Julia. The Board Education Committee met Monday, December 5th at 8:15 a.m. at Lake Forest High School West Campus. The participants were Dr. Andy Henriksen, Dr. Julie Cooley, Dr. Griffith, and Joe Malin, all representing the administration. Bill Anderson and myself represented the Board of Education, and community member and District 67 parent Roger Kwan was also present. We approved the minutes from the November 17th meeting and then got on with the task at hand, which was the review of the district dashboard. The district dashboard is, of course, found on our district website. The main focus of this meeting of the Education Committee was to discuss our individual reflections of our current district dashboard. We looked at it from the perspective of district and community members, as well as from the vantage point of outside individuals attempting to gain knowledge about our district. We want our dashboard to be informative, reflect our district mission, and to provide current information regarding achievement, student involvement, data and assessments with comparables to neighboring districts as well as international schools. We want these assessments to gauge progress from year to year, in some cases from fall to spring. There was a variety of input given by committee members that will be taken into consideration. I'll share just a few highlights. Updating the graphics on the dashboard as we refer to neighboring websites, considering additional sections such as possibly entitled District Initiatives or Innovative Practices, and 21st Century Learning, project-based learning such as the report we saw today on water. And another possible title would be Pride Points. This is where we would share our awards and recognitions. We also want to showcase our trends in improvement regarding test scores without overwhelming our audience. Finally, We want to add data to include student involvement in extracurriculars, including but not limited to student council, student service club, wellness, band, orchestra, chorus, intramural athletics, in order to depict the experiences of the whole child. Although this was not initially intended, we felt the need to discuss improving not only our dashboard, but to improve our district website, as it was last improved about 10 years ago. We want to achieve a balance of providing ample information with a clean look. So at this point, the future plans regarding improvement of our dashboard and our website. Bill Anderson will work on obtaining data regarding comparison of our measurable student achievement against international measurable student achievement. Finance and operations committees will also review the website and its contents. One representative per committee will meet to determine content and then focus on design. Representing the education committee will be Roger Kwan. This will be a summer project. And finally, the education committee will participate in a book read entitled Catching Up or Leading the Way in order to help with this process. Our NSSED update was given by Julie Cooley, and she had presented that NSSED has created an alternative to the current membership cost structure. Jeff Pendersky will share more on this soon. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Education Committee will be on February 14th at 8:15 West Campus. Colleen Brueggemann, Director of Gifted Services, will join us, as she joined us tonight, to discuss the IB Baccalaureate program in more detail. We will also discuss the goals for 21st century learning for next year. Our meeting was adjourned at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie. That brings us to the Board Operations Committee, Lori Rose and Rick Schuler.
Thank you, Julia. Our Board Operations Committee has not met since our last Board of Education meeting, and the next meeting has not yet been scheduled. Please stay tuned to the district website for updates on that. Thank you.
The Board Finance Committee, Jeff Pendersky and John Julian.
The Board Finance Committee would like to provide an update on the bond refunding issue. It was much more successful than we had imagined due to the very low interest rate environment. So what I'd like to do is just turn it over to Alan Albus for a quick summary of that, please.
Before I start on the bonds, a couple of months ago, the district received a reaffirmation of a AAA rating from Standard & Poor's. Earlier tonight, Dr. Griffith read a letter from Moody's, and that was specific to the restructuring of the debt that Mr. Pendersky had talked about. Standard & Poor's doesn't rate that type of debt as a AAA, so we went to Moody's, and we obtained the AAA. Back in October, the board approved a parameters resolution to refinance $2.1 million of outstanding debt. That recommendation came to us from William Blair, who on a weekly basis runs scenarios for clients. And anytime the present value savings meets or exceeds 3%, they would recommend, if it's callable, let you refinance your debt. So based on the projections that were run, we had anticipated a savings of a present value savings of about $94,000, and it came in actually at $112,000. And I believe at the time we were talking about as a percent a savings of about 4%, and that came in at almost 5.3%. So the issuance is closed. We're just receiving the final documents today, but it's worked out very well for us. I wish we had more debt to refinance rather than the 2.1.
And thanks to Alan and Jennifer and the rest of the finance team for the hard work on making that happen, because it's money that can be spent in the district, in the classroom. And that really concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you. This brings us to district committees in which we act as liaisons. The North Suburban Special Education District, Jeff Pendersky.
I think I want to do a full version of the changes of the structure in the contract in January.
All right, we'll look forward to that next month. The Illinois Association of School Boards and Ed Red, Bill Anderson.
There was not a report this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Professional Development, Rick Schuler.
No meetings or updates since last month. Thank you.
The Curriculum Coordinating Committee and Lori Rose.
Thank you, Julia. I do have a report. The Curriculum Coordinating Committee met on December 1st of this year. The group included teachers from both the elementary and DPM and some of the district experts, such as Bridget Booker with experience in technology, as well as community liaisons. At that meeting, Andy Henriksen, who presented earlier tonight, put forward a proposal to provide netbooks for 8th graders in the school year 2012-2013. That proposal was brought to the Curriculum Coordinating Committee by the members of the Netbook Pilot Steering Team, which included Laura Montgomery, Amy Lamberti, who were here earlier this evening, Cornelius DeBose, who's still here, Patty Flacer, Leanna Fifehouse, as well as Andy Henriksen. The community had a productive discussion, and I'm just going to highlight for you some of the discussion. I'll summarize it briefly as pros and cons. Pros included the students would benefit from having this 21st century learning tool. You can see some of the results of that this evening. It would make their 8th grade experience more engaging, and next year's 8th grade teachers would prefer to have this tool rather than waiting. The cost is relatively low for technology of this type. The district would seek a Spirit grant to help fund it, and we already have some netbooks that could be utilized as well. 8th graders, like their predecessors in younger grades, would also be charged a fee, which would be determined once we determine how many would need to be purchased. In addition, another advantage would be that greater emphasis could be placed on professional development for 7th and 8th grade teachers, and that would result in some economies as well. The concerns included having the tool for only 1 year, and 8th graders would have to climb the technology curve, get up to speed, and then go to the high school, where as a 67 board we can't determine what technology might or might not be in place. That the assignment notebook for some students, there's a preference for writing things down versus an online calendar. That would be a 1-year option as well. And finally, an important concern, what to do with the used netbooks, and it looks like the committee had some rather creative suggestions, including selling them to 8th graders, giving them to 5th graders at a discount, using some of them as spares in the event that one of them had some problems, or sharing more with the elementary schools. There's probably a lot more that could be added to that list in terms of creative thoughts of what to do with the netbooks. At the end of the discussion, there was unanimous vote in favor of the proposal for netbooks for 8th graders. This concludes the Curriculum Coordinating Committee report.
Thank you, Lori. The Spirit of 67 Foundation had their holiday party this morning in lieu of their regular meeting, and will meet again in January. Is there any other committee that a board member would like to report on? Seeing none, we will move to our recommendations and the adoption of the 2011 tax levy. Dr. Griffith?
Okay, board members, this is an annual event, and Alan Albus is here to review with you what's behind this recommendation.
Taxing bodies in Illinois must adopt and file their tax levies by the last Tuesday in December. So starting back in October, we began reviewing levy scenarios with the Finance Committee, and at the October meeting, the board adopted a tentative levy. Tonight, we're going to ask you to approve the final levy. There are no changes from the tentative levy that was approved in October. In summary, and I'll go through a couple of the numbers up here, but the levy is expected to generate a 1.5% increase from existing property taxes in the aggregate. We also anticipate about 0.6% of revenue increase due to new construction. So as you look at the display that's up there, there's a highlighted box. As we work through the tax cap formula based on our EAV and our prior year extension, the $28,366,000 is the amount of money that we're projecting at this time would be generated from this levy. That represents a total increase of 2.1%. Again, 1.5% of that is coming from existing property, and that's in the aggregate of existing property. So whether a house goes up or down from that depends on what happens to the assessed value of that house. Now, everything is known in here. The 1.5% is the cap of the CPI, but the one number that is not known is the new construction. So because of that, we actually recommend that you adopt a levy about 2/3 of the way down where it says projected extension. We're recommending that the adopted levy be $28,600,000. Because the way the tax cap formula works, if you levy an amount that's equal to or greater than what the formula produces, you get what the formula produces. If you levy an amount that's under what the formula produces, you get those dollars. And the problem with that, and one of the flaws in the tax cap formula, is that becomes your base going forward for every year. So it's really important to try and capture all the new construction dollars that are available. Whether you levied $28,600,000 or $50 million is immaterial if it's more than what the formula produces, because it brings it back down. So again, we recommend that you go slightly above what we think we're going to get, just to make sure that we capture all the dollars from new construction. As a quick side-by-side, then you see last year our extension was $27,775,674. We're expecting that we're levying $28,600,000, but the actual increase that we anticipate is going to be slightly less than $600,000. What this chart shows is if you took a house that had a market value of $1 million, for tax purposes, the equalized assessment is 1/3 of that. Now, there's also homestead exemptions, and that I didn't bother taking that off. I just simply took 1/3. So where it says EAV, the 333 number represent 1/3 of the market value of a house.
Excuse me, Alan. I think this is an important chart to share with the audience as well. So would it be possible to maybe talk from the other side somehow? Because this is, to me, this is very, very, very important to the members of the community.
What do you mean from the other side?
Well, just somehow, somehow, yeah, there we go. Because we spent a lot of time talking about this in closed session, and this is something I think ought to get some a little bit more airtime with the community. Thank you.
I think you discussed this in the Finance Committee. We didn't discuss this in closed session.
Okay.
Alan, also, what are the districts across the top? So
I'll go through some of those, and sorry for the shading on here, so it doesn't come out quite as well, but I'll try and highlight those. So what this is showing is the line that says EAV. That represents 1/3 of the market value of a sample house. So in this case, the house would have $1 million market value. In District 67, which is the first column, the tax rate in 2010 was $1.095 for every $100 of EAV. That meant that homeowner paid to District 67 $3,650. If you took that house and slid it a few miles south into Highland Park District 112, that $1 million market value house would have paid a total of $8,123 to Highland Park 112, an increase of $4,400. So as you go across the board, Libertyville, District 70, if you move the house out there, the taxes would be $4,400 more. In Lincolnshire 103, $4,200, and in Lake Bluff, $4,043, and in Deerfield 109, $5,233. Now, one other way of looking at this is to pay equivalent taxes that you would pay in District 67. That $1 million house, if you moved it to Highland Park, would have to have an EAV of $150,000, or that $1 million market value would have to drop to $450,000 to pay the same taxes. It's a huge difference. So, because I've had discussions with some people about, well, homes in Lake Forest are priced higher, and if you move them, so maybe there would be a value drop, but not that significantly. And you can take that all the way across the board. Again, in Libertyville, you'd be down to a $450,000 house. In Lincolnshire, it'd be $459,000 is market value. In Lake Bluff, the value of the house would have to drop to $158,000, which would leave a market value of $474,000. So it's pretty significant. Last year when we did the tax levy hearing, I showed a slide, and I got this off the county website a year ago, that typically throughout the county, 2/3 of a property owner's tax bill goes to the local schools. In Lake Forest, that's closer to 50%. So the schools are fairly low here. Can I answer any questions? Some of the numbers I was quoting were not up here on the market values, but any questions on the levy? Again, no change from what was presented in October and adopted. It would yield most likely a 1.5 increase on existing property and about another 0.6 from new construction.
Board members, any questions?
I just wanted to ask Jeff what the discussion, if you could summarize the discussion in finance for us, since we have our board committee structure, not all the board members were present in that.
Well, sure. In the finance committee, it's essentially this. We benchmark the taxes paid on a typical home in our community against what that home would pay in taxes in surrounding communities. And this is just kind of a nice summary of that. And, you know, for a long time, and it's not just been this board's policy, but boards 10 and 20 and 30 years ago, is to, you know, have a very low tax rate for, you know, for the elementary schools while still providing top quality education. And that's an easy thing to say, but when you line it up against neighboring districts, it's comforting to see it on paper. And so, you know, that combined with the financial position, you know, and the reaffirmation of the AAA bond rating tells me that the people that have come before us have done a very good job, and, you know, we're trying our best to continue the trend.
The other thing we talk about in the Finance Committee is when you do a tentative levy, if you levy more than 5% of the prior year extension, that triggers a whole new set of requirements and hoops that you have to jump through. So you kind of do a probability analysis on what's the likelihood of new construction generating an increase of more than 5%. And you work through the formulas and you talk through the numbers. I'd like to point out Mike Borkowski is in the audience tonight. Mike is a new member to the District 67 Finance Committee, and he kind of got a baptism by fire because I think this was your first meeting when we went through all this. But we probably spent a good hour and a half looking at different scenarios, talking through the formula, how it works, and then came to consensus around the levy that we recommended in October.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it is, since you asked about the discussion, is that the community just doesn't have the interest in paying a higher tax rate. period. And so I think the levy reflects that.
Okay, thank you, board members. May I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
That was quick. I couldn't even finish my sentence. You were, motion to adopt the 2011 tax levy. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Pendersky?
Aye.
Mr. Schuler?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Julian?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Mrs. Wold?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. We now come to our consent agenda items. We have the approval of minutes of an executive session and special meeting on November 28th, as well as a special meeting and regular meeting on November 29th, and also an executive session on November 29th. We have the approval of disbursements, payrolls, and financial statement from November 2011. Disbursements, let's see, I'm sorry, disbursements and procurement card purchases totaling $362,990, and total disbursements of $1,421,180. We have the November 2011 financial report. We have the approval of human resources items, including the approval of leave requests, new staff, retirements, and status changes. And as to the record of closed meetings, there will be no destruction of audio recordings. Is there any item that a board member would like removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Pendersky?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Mrs. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Schuler?
Aye.
Mr. Julian?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wold?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The motion carried unanimously. This brings us to our FOIA requests. We had one request this month from Nancy Thorner of 31 East Blodgett Avenue in Lake Bluff, Illinois. Future agenda items. Is there something a board member would like placed on a future agenda? Seeing none, we come to announcements. Friday, December 16th, winter break begins at the close of the day. Tuesday, January 3rd, school resumes. Monday, January 16th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, no school. And Tuesday, January 24th, will be our next Board of Education meeting at 7 p.m. at Lake Forest High School West Campus in the boardroom. And in between there, board members, the week of January 9th, we will have a very busy week where we are meeting 5 out of 7 days that week for many hours. So enjoy your holiday break.
You bet.
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.